out, I think there's a lovely pageant out in the street. So I would like to introduce you to Cahur O'Sullivan, a man from West Cork, and he'd like to say a few words. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your warm welcome. We started doing the trail of events last April, last year. And we started in Dunboy. Now the idea was to raise the profile of the story. I know it's a very famous story for a lot of people, but we wanted to learn more of the local folk. Can everyone hear me? Who said unfortunately? Okay. So I'm not used to the modern technology. That's okay? Now, if the backbenchers would like to come to the front, their position is followed. The golden seats here in the front. So we started last April in Dunboy and we did a series of events. We ended up in Leitrim in November, and what really stood out, now I've been working with communities, rural communities for most of my life. Okay.
I'm sorry, it's hard to hear. Might be better there.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Unfortunately. Okay, so we started in Dunboy, we finished in Leitrim last November. And what we learned along the way, which was most important, was the community spirit. And I suppose after 2 years of lockdown and how that affected our community, communication skills, community, our communing with each other, and our sense of belonging, I think people are only beginning to realise it now that ultimately when it comes down to the basics, we rely on each other. And every town and village that we visited along the way, we learned more about the folklore, about the characters of the local villages and towns, and everyone had their own story about the trail itself. For example, I was in Liscarroll and and we met an elderly gentleman and he said, "See this place here?" They didn't cross there, they crossed 2 miles down the road. So everywhere we go to, we get a different story from the official story, and that's great. It's a living story, it's a breathing story, and we can add to it, but the facts don't change. It was a story of survival, a love of freedom, in my opinion, a fiercely romantic story. And I don't mean romance in the Victorian style, I mean romance for love of place, love of culture, and each other. And again, I write a lot of stories, I write a lot of poetry, which is my preferred format. And every village and town I stopped in, when maybe it was that evening, I was inspired to write some more. I'm going to read one now at the moment, it's called Who Stands. And as I said, it's just something that I wrote that I was inspired from the trail, and we'll see what it's leading there through forward. So it's called Who Stands, and it's a call for courage and supposed to stand up for each other. I see now in your eyes what this our land can be. You've known her fear and felt her pride. You've seen her rage and savoured her riches. All here have heard the roar of her fury. You've smelled her perfume and tasted her glory. You've shared her tears, and in you flows her blood. You've touched her musical soul and the power of her mind. You've witnessed her broke but never broke. You've sensed her in death's icy hold. And now we stand with her, set her free, who stands with me. You've joined her before in the grasp of battle's fury. You've soured with the taste of her betrayal. You've answered her prayers and her hour of need. You've been bewitched by her enchanted beauty, now join me and be known as her proud, valiant sons and daughters. You've fed her sacred side and slept upon her hallowed ground. You've knelt in silent reverence against her sacred groves and her ancient stone. Now come and fight for her, let us be worthy. In you now rests her hope and rose her might. Let us now with her write new stories of glory, of valiant deeds and gallant story. Let us now forge such a tale that all the nations of the world gasp and stand to take note, and one day say in salute, now that's a land whose songs know glory, that's a land for whom legend saves an honoured place. Thank you very much. And before I drive you to tears, I've called this the Ireland's Trail of Tears. A lot of people would be conscious of the Trail of Tears with the Native Americans. And I suppose if you take the word tears and the letters T-E-A-R-S, to me, what I realised along the trail, T stands for thought. If we can actually start thinking about culture, its importance, start thinking about community and its importance, that changes the next level, which is E, emotion. So thought affects emotion, doesn't it? You can't have happy thoughts and have unhappy emotions, so one affects the other. When you're emotionally connected to a story, connected to community, that affects the next level, which is A, action. And when you, and I've witnessed here in the community today, and in the other community, but specifically here today, the amount of you that have come out to support us and the words of support and kindness, that's the result of thought, emotion, that's an action. From action comes the next level, R, and that is results. When you take positive actions, when you relate to a story in thought and emotion, your actions are going to be empowered. You're going to have the spirit, like a Southern Bear had the spirit, and all the 1,000 people with them. They had, you could say they had choices. Of course they had choices, and we all have choices, but they decided to take their fate in their own hands. And that came from a certain way of thinking. From your actions come the next level, R, results. And the results, as we can see here today, 420 years later, we're still talking about this story. That in itself is an amazing tribute to our ancestors. And not only that, but it's an international story as well, because I spend a lot of time communicating with people in Spain, I'm good from here also. We have people in America, Australia, Slovakia, that can all relate to this story. And that only comes from, as I said, learning about it, speaking about it, sharing, and actually, having a sense of belonging. Next letter, results, comes from action, and this is the results of an awful lot of work by Morris and the committee. And I'd like to say thank you to each and every one of them and the musicians. I think music really adds to every occasion. Now, I haven't a note in my head. You clap there. I'm the kind of person who claps in between claps. There's no sense of it at all. So from R means S. So T-E-A-R-S. And S, in my opinion, is seeds. We sow seeds with every action, with every result. And if you look at the trail today, that wouldn't have happened without communities like yourself coming together and saying, we can do this. Seeds of success. And if you look at the trail, look at the amount of Sullivans that were planted like seeds along the trail. There's Sullivans in Sligo, there's Sullivans in Leitrim, Roscommon, and all along the trail. There's McAuliffe's along the trail that would have travelled with them. There's a load of us Sullivans here. I won't ask to put my hands, but I'm sure there's plenty of us. I'm a Sullivan myself, I forgot to introduce myself. But so if you take the word tears, maybe keep that in your head. Thought, emotion, action, results, and success, seeds. So thank you to everyone that came here today. Thank you to the cameraman, if you look good. He's not a magician. I'd like to thank my team as well that have been traipsing around the country, up and down the country last year, and we're starting again. We started in Glengarry on Saturday, and the main driving force behind this is the story and the communities. So thank you very much.
Gura míle maithfid cruúil, agus beidir le síle
Most of you know me here. I'm Sheila O'Sullivan from Newmarket. Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. So I thank Morris particularly for organising this event, and of course Crowmore and his team. They're absolutely wonderful. What a lovely way to learn history. Okay. Thank you. Now, first and foremost, I would like to thank the Brennan family of Ballybattler for taking care of the graves of 4 of O'Sullivan Beara soldiers that died there. So it's 420 years, and those graves are revered outside in that barn. We're all welcome to visit them, but think 420 years. You look at local graveyards, but that is some history, and they're taking care of them. So well done to the Brennan family. Secondly, I would like to make note of Sean Moylan was asked to speak about the men that was painting the Men of the South. And this was in the mid-40s, because President Douglas Hyde was buying a painting for the Oris. And he sent off he was paying for all this artwork himself because the country had no money. And he sent a solicitor called McDumphy. Not alone did McDumphy buy the paintings on behalf of the President, but he got the history behind them. And he contacted Sean Moylan, and he asked Sean Moylan the names of the people who were in the painting and why those men were picked. And Sean Moylan went through them all. But to refer to Dennis Milan of Ballybahala. And he said that his father was a Fenian, so obviously that influenced Denny. But he also made reference to the 4 graves of O'Sullivan Beara in Ballybahala. And he said, of course, that had to influence Denny Milan. O'Sullivan Beara, when he lost his soldiers outside in Fremont, he had no idea that it would take 300 years again for the likes of Denny Milan and Sean Moylan and brave men like him to finish the job and give us our freedom here in the south of Ireland. Just to say that I suppose the next big event will be here in the Cultural. Our local actor Michael Patrick will be doing a one-man play on the words of Sean Moylan. And again, Denny Milan will feature strongly in that. You're all very welcome. Thanks to the McAuliffes for leaving us stay here, I suppose. We're one of the crowd that stayed here. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed the event. Thank you.
And now I would ask the McAuliffe family from Down to play O'Sullivan's March. Thank you.
No?
Yep.
That's a good question. Anyway, you're all very welcome here this evening on behalf of Mossy and the Committee of the Culture. On behalf of Mossy and the Committee of the Culture, Mossy has put an enormous amount of work into this culture over the last number of years. He has now been joined with a very active committee, and it's due to them that this culture is so busy on a continuous basis. As I said, we'd like to welcome everyone, not only the Ulster ones and the parties, even though I think if you trace back lineage, heritage in most families, you would find the Ulster one or McAuliffe amongst them. But I want also to extend a special welcome to our Ukrainian friends who are here with us in the market at the moment. Mossy tells me that he intends to try and organise an event like this each year where other plans might wish to come involved as well, and that he would use this venue as a way of promoting the clans, the history, the culture of the area. Just very briefly, Mossy started this project, I said 5 years ago, 10 years ago, with the McAuliffes in Australia. Unfortunately, the chieftain of the McAuliffes passed away last year. They had himself and his family at that stage, with the cooperation of Mossy, had this phenomenal restoration that's going to be available as a cultural room, as the headquarters of the McAuliffe clan, of Kidney, the Fosters, and the other clans that wish to use it, and generally for cultural events in Irish history, Irish dance, Irish song, which the last chieftain was extremely anxious to promote and has contributed, and his family have contributed enormously to the establishment of this in order to ensure that those type of traditions are continued here in the market. So again, you're all very welcome. I hope you enjoy the music and the fight for the rest of the evening. Of course, anything substantial in the market, the pipeline are always an integral part of that. Thank you all very much. Thanks,
I'll just say, right, Mission? No. would like to ask Michael Hanlon to give us a rendition of a well-known romantic song. Thanks, Michael.
I'm not used to singing in front of such a big orchestra. It's lovely to see all the skilled local musicians. And when I was thinking about this job that Massey gave me today, I was trying to figure out on what basis could I justify writing a song about Roman. And that led me to Slave Rover, and it led me to Pride of Place and Sensitive Place. Every little town and village in Shiruka is proud of its own heritage and its own background. And many of them have their own anthems and their own songs. Cantalk by the banks of the river Allo, and they have by the banks of the Rogin. Ballydesmond has King Williamstown, and Newmarket has much loved up Newmarket. But we're only one, so I decided in my stupidity to try and write another one. So I attempted it, and the end result came out a bit like this. A song I raise to sing in praise of my own, my native tongue, that nestles in Shiloh's hills and valleys green and brown, a proud old town that's built around great deeds and quiet pride. I sing of sweet Newmarket town, my lovely Gallows. From Mansbridge down below the town, the Gallows flows. Through lonely hills her water rills, through pleasant woodland scenes. Very dark and gone, we saw her fun, and many's the day enjoy. With a happy band of companions grand, through lovely Gallows. The hills around with history bound, Glenardy's folk was here. And in Travers past, even Cromwell's blast, that brave clan knew no fear. O Sullivan Bear, he sheltered there, though shunned through Ireland wide. When his friends were few, they were good and true by lovely Gallows. On Scabine Hill, you'll see there still where 3 red twigs were slain. And across the vale Newmarket Court said in its own domain, the island killed the old Pond Hill, New Street and High Street wide, where as boys we played in those happy days by lovely Gallows. Sweet Sarah sleeps in her quiet place where golden sunbeams rest. There too in spirit Emmet lies in that spot she loved the best. And often in the evening's glow you'll sense their spirits rise. Together now, forevermore by lovely Gallows. And now my son comes
near its end, but before I go, I pray that those apart in foreign lands may all come back someday, may see again that dear old town where the hats are ever tied. There's a everlasting welcome home by lovely Gallows side. And to those at home, kind friends and true, good neighbours, one and all, may all your days be health and peace, may you rise and never fall. And when life's journey ends for us, then John Fox play goodbye and sleep content where our lives we spent by lovely Dallow side.